Let's dive into a common myth right off the bat. A lot of people think they know what anarchism is all about. They might imagine anarchists as extreme rebels just itching to overthrow the government, kind of like rebellious teens saying, "I'm not doing the dishes tonight." So deal with it in this caricature. Anarchists might be seen shopping for spiked bracelets, grabbing a toaster on the way out, and then kicking back to watch society fall apart. But this is a major oversimplification. Any serious anarchist would argue that this is more fiction than fact. If people understood the true essence of anarchism, they might start rethinking their views on power and authority, which could be pretty uncomfortable for those in charge. Take Noam Chomsky, one of today's leading thinkers. He offers a fresh perspective on anarchism. According to Chomsky, anarchism is really about questioning authority.
It's nothing to do with bomb-throwing mayhem. Anarchism is a point of view which, first of all, it covers a lot of things. Political rhetoric is not the clearest, it's not a model of clarity. And anarchism has covered quite a lot of ground, but the mainstream of it has just been the basic principle, which I think comes straight out of classical liberalism and the Enlightenment, that any form of authority and domination has a burden of proof to bear. It has to demonstrate that it's legitimate, no matter what it is, whether it's inside a family or in the global economy. If it is a form of authority and domination and coercion, it has to show that it's legitimate.
He argues that whenever you encounter any form of hierarchical authority, whether it's a boss, a priest, a school principal, or even a government official, that authority has to justify its existence. Chomsky suggests that authority isn't inherently justified. For example, why should a mall security guard, munching on pretzels and sipping an orange Julius, get to boss people around just because he's in uniform? Shouldn't he have to prove why his authority is necessary? Let's dig a bit deeper. Imagine a dad who claims to be the man of the house but consistently makes poor decisions. An anarchist might wonder if the family would be better off if everyone had a say in decision-making. Similarly, if a priest demands that his congregation mow his lawn because of divine authority, shouldn't he also have to justify his position? If you're on board with questioning these examples, it raises a bigger question. How far up the hierarchy does this need for justification go? Does it apply to long-serving, oppressive bosses, or even to the government? For Chomsky, an anarchist isn't someone who just rejects authority. They believe that anyone in power must show that their leadership benefits everyone more than if people manage their own affairs. It's about challenging the assumption that anyone is inherently better at making decisions for others than the individuals themselves. Think about it this way. When friends choose a restaurant, they don't need a mediator to reach a decision. Similarly, people navigate parking lots without a traffic cop directing every move. In these situations, democratic decision-making works just fine. So anarchism isn't about an explosive overthrow of the government. It's about questioning whether hierarchical authority is really necessary and imagining how things might work better without it. Anarchists focus on finding greater freedom in our everyday interactions. Chomsky also suggests that if an authority can't justify its existence, it's our responsibility to challenge or dismantle it. He points out that many once accepted systems, like slavery, were once thought to be essential for society. In hindsight, we see they were not only unjust but completely unnecessary. Despite what history might tell us, can we question whether accepted narratives of oppression are valid? Often, what was believed to be necessary actually hindered progress. Take women's rights as an example. For thousands of years, women were denied the right to vote, pursue education, or live independently. Society preached that this was the natural order. Women should manage the home while men worked or went to war. Many accepted this as necessary for societal function, but was it really necessary, or just a mechanism of oppression? Could it be that we're similarly accepting current institutions of power, especially the government, without questioning their necessity? An anarchist might argue that we're clinging to the idea that society can't survive without these structures, just like people once believed slavery was essential. It's crucial to note that anarchism isn't a one-size-fits-all doctrine. If someone identifies as an anarchist, it doesn't reveal much about their specific beliefs. Anarchism is a diverse community of free thinkers who often disagree with each other. This variety reflects the spirit of anarchism, which rejects hierarchical authority and discourages dogmatic adherence to any single text or idea. There are as many interpretations of anarchism as there are forms of authority it challenges. Discussing anarchism in broad strokes can be tricky and might not resonate with everyone. Even Chomsky's initial definition might appeal to many, but it could also frustrate those who see anarchism as more than just a critique of existing systems. One fascinating aspect of anarchism is its ability to propose alternative worlds. For this discussion, let's consider a classic example that reimagines hierarchical systems, not just at the level of government, but in other areas of society as well. Imagine if our belief in the necessity of government was like the misguided belief that slavery is crucial for economic prosperity. Picture someone born with their legs bound by a rope, learning to walk despite this constraint. In their world, the rope is seen as a necessary aid, while scientists argue it's essential. But in reality, the rope merely limits their potential. To explore alternatives to government, we should first ask, what is the government really? Often we see it as an abstract entity representing the will of the people or a necessary barrier against chaos. An anarchist might view it differently as a group of individuals in authority who make decisions from the top down, often disconnected from the everyday realities of those they govern. The issues with this hierarchical setup are many. Politicians may break promises, be disconnected from ordinary lives, and lack the expertise to solve complex problems. This concentration of power can lead to corruption, inefficiency, and abuse. Even if we could eliminate all the bad actors, how could we ensure that elected officials truly represent the collective wisdom of society? How can we prove that a small group of people is better at making decisions for everyone than the collective input of the entire population? Some argue that collective wisdom is impractical, and that elected leaders are necessary to mediate conflicting interests. Yet, an anarchist might counter that what we call government often dominates rather than mediates, using force to enforce laws and restrict freedoms. The Romans, for example, would conquer lands, then call the resulting devastation peace. Is this what we truly mean by peace? Western societies often tout values like liberty, equality, and fraternity. However, anarchists might find these claims ironic. They argue that true liberty, equality, and solidarity are interdependent. Liberty without equality benefits only the privileged. Equality without liberty can lead to a form of coerced uniformity. Solidarity requires both liberty and equality to function. People need the freedom to choose their communities and ensure that all voices within those communities are heard equally. To an anarchist, the ideal society is one where liberty, equality, and solidarity work together. This vision includes communities formed by voluntary association, where cooperation benefits all involved. Such a society would be organized from the bottom up, without hierarchical authority. As we explore these ideas, remember that anarchism provides a framework for rethinking societal organization in ways that challenge traditional power structures. One major misconception about anarchism is that rejecting traditional Western governments means endorsing total chaos. Some people think anarchists want a world where everyone is on their own, struggling in a lawless free-for-all. But that's not the case at all. Anarchists actually believe in organized, cooperative societies, just not in the top-down way we're used to. Instead of having a government imposing rules from above, they advocate for a bottom-up approach. Think of it as a decentralized network of communities where organization comes from people freely choosing to work together. Here's how it works. Free association. Anarchists believe people should join only the communities they choose. No forced memberships or coercion. You join communities that benefit you and others, and if it's not working out, you can leave. True democracy. In these communities, decisions are made democratically, not the kind where a few representatives hold all the power, but where everyone affected by a decision gets a vote. It's one person, one vote, directly impacting the community. Temporary leadership. Sometimes, communities need leaders for specific tasks, but instead of permanent positions, leadership is temporary and chosen democratically. Once the task is done, that leader's role ends. The community keeps a close watch on their actions, and if things go wrong, they can quickly replace them. Decentralized networks. In a large society, this decentralized model scales by forming unions of communities, which might then join larger federations. Each level operates with the same democratic principles, ensuring decisions are made by those impacted. Addressing concerns. You might wonder if this decentralized approach could lead to chaos or fragmentation. Anarchists argue that this setup is no more chaotic than current systems and could actually lead to more coherent and effective organization. Modern context. Today, power isn't just in governments. Corporations and media also wield significant control, often beyond traditional government checks and balances. Anarchists see these privatized forms of power as just as important to address as government structures. If you bring up the idea of abolishing the state tomorrow, Chomsky might argue you're stepping into a theoretical discussion rather than dealing with real-world issues. To him, it's like discussing lofty ideas without considering the practical realities of our current situation. Chomsky points out that before we can even think about replacing the state, we need something practical, like a network of federated communities that can work together effectively. Right now, we don't have anything close to that. He questions whether removing the state would solve our problems or just shift power. According to him, corporate power is a bigger issue than state power. If we simply remove the state without addressing corporate control, we might end up strengthening corporations even more. Chomsky suggests that, as flawed as it might be, using the state's regulatory power to challenge corporate dominance could be a more practical short-term goal. In today's world, with digital surveillance and corporate influence on the rise, anarchism offers a fresh perspective. It provides alternative ways to think about organizing society without hierarchical authority. If you're feeling unsure about how to move forward, Chomsky might suggest that the confusion comes from assuming we need hierarchical structures. What if breaking away from that assumption is the key to finding clearer solutions? Just like someone learning to walk despite being bound, maybe we can find new ways forward by rethinking our fundamental assumptions about power and organization. Think anarchism means chaos and rebellion? Think again. It's less about toppling society and more about questioning why anyone should have the power to dictate the rules in the first place. Thanks for listening.
There is far too little chaos for my liking. Why is it always wrong or right? What do you mean I need to pick a side? You know me, darling. I would much rather pick a fight. Swear it was self-defense, I didn't mean to kill him, honey. I don't wanna start a fight. You gotta believe me.